Hey YouTube, I decided it was time to mash together some more video update action and sat down this weekend and did my best. Last time I left you with a picture of that big old 5-inch pack brake exhaust brake. So here's a little reminder photo. I V-banded it onto the 17-inch FTE resonator and extended that out a little bit to make it the right length for my needs. I also got a hold of a 5-inch stainless steel bellows type flex and a 5-inch donut and made a confusing looking downpipe. There's about 4 different changes of direction in there to get it mixed around everything. Then I needed to work on the other end of that big 5-inch pipe. I need to switch to duals to get the exhaust out of the back of the truck the way I want to. Nobody makes a 5 to 3.5 inch T, or whatever the heck you would call that, splitter. So I made my own. And I laid out the parts so they would be close and cut them out and then just beat them into submission with a ball peen hammer. Pretty fun. Forming metal over the edge of the table is a little bit archaic, but it's the tools I have, so that's the way I did it. It still came out pretty good. Got what I needed. Got parallel 3.5 inch outlets from a single 5-inch pipe, and that gives me enough cross-sectional area. Oh, I got caught busting a jam out here by the camera. Forgot the camera was watching me. Anyways, I got my parallel 3.5s out of a single 5, so I don't lose any cross-sectional area to the pipe reduction. And it was short enough to fit in under the cab where all the big 5-inch pipe was. End result looks pretty good. Mocked the pipe back into the frame, V-banded it onto the end of the pipe section there, and started the risers to go up over the frame rail. One long radius L and a short radius L mixed together gets me up over the frame rail and down out under the bedside. Kind of not ideal. I would rather have it dumped behind the tire, but this was really the only option because I have airbags and fuel tanks and all kinds of stuff in the way, and it looks kind of race car, so that's cool. Used snapper grommets and made those tabs to mount the pipe to the frame, and then also used the same thing to mount the tailpipe to the bed structure, so it has a little wiggle room, but it is pretty hard mounted. Some funny pun words, because puns are funny, right? In the first video I showed you some bits and pieces for the torsional sway bar that I ended up using. And for some reason I decided to video myself one day when I was fixing a screw up. I don't know why I did that, but whatever. So what this is my sway bar arms. This one I noticed after I tacked it together, which you won't be able to see on the video, it's not perfectly aligned. The bolt holes are a little bit offset. So I'm going to bust off one half of it, slide it back so it's lined up according to how it should be, and then tack it back on and go to welding. To give you the explanation, as you can tell I was pretty excited about cutting it apart. This is one of those lessons you learn. Take your time when you're tacking it up and get it right the first time. Anyways, this whole process was a little bit ironic and pretty much futile, which we will see in a minute, but I busted that piece off, sanded it all back to clean, tacked it up correctly, and then burned it together. I don't know why, but I didn't take any pictures of it after it was welded, but before it was painted, probably because I got in a hurry to paint it. But here's some more tacked up shots of the sway bar arm, and then in the chassis mocked up. It all looks pretty cool. Several months later I finally got this piece of unobtainium, and those splines ended up being misaligned end to end. So I got more parts for another arm and built a whole new arm, thusly making the previous repair totally useless. But with the arms on the chassis, it's time to fab up some lower arm link mounts. This one is bolted to the lower link mount, well, the axle link mount, and the other side is welded to the panhard mount. For some reason I didn't get any pictures of that after it was done or while I was working on it, but I did get some video of me making sparks, and everybody loves welding sparks on video, or at least I do. Anyhow, that got welded on, the other one got bolted on, which I have a little picture of coming up here. and there it is, bolted to the link mount. And here it is with painted arms and the sway bar all in, everything in alignment finally. It's in and it works. Also did a lot of work on the wiring under the truck because I was trying to get everything done so I could install a bed at some point. That relay harness was all finished up. Built this little panel and painted it black. Cleaned it up real nice. I also started in on the power cables, so I built this circuit breaker array for the power cables. All the cables that I've built have been crimped and soldered and then used adhesive lined thick wall shrink tube. These cables I had to order because they have flag ends on them. But anyways, that was the circuit breaker for my main power cables. Keeps everything from burning if there's a short somewhere. Also did the fuel lines, which you see on the top of the tank, and then here underneath. I finally decided it was time to pull all the painted parts out of the front room of my house and put them on the truck. This is the first time that I've ever seen this truck shiny and new, looking like a truck in my whole life. Pretty exciting stuff. I did leave the glove box door unrefinished. That's as delivered in 1972, just like it was when my grandpa had this truck, so that's kind of special for me. I finished the bedwood. That's just regular old yellow pine or Douglas fir or whatever it is. I stained it with a dark stain and then put a really gnarly two-part epoxy on it. Here you can see the tailpipe finally mounted up and maybe even a little shock action. But more on that later. I got this message on my phone the other day and I was pretty darn excited to see it. I appreciate all the love, guys. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the videos, and if you guys have any suggestions or anything you'd like to see or anything I might be able to help you learn about, let me know and I'll do what I can. And if you'd like to follow along on Instagram, there's my handle there as well.